Well, guys, it's happening. Gold is breaking to a fresh all-time high here, or at least close to it. In terms of a closing high, we got a all-time closing high on Friday, and today is looking like yet again another all-time closing high. And we are closing in on the intraday all-time high of around $3,500 an ounce on gold. The question of the day and what we'll be discussing in this video is what's the next move for metals? I'm seeing some interesting conflicting views, and I definitely want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Some people are saying gold is overdone and has to pull back. It's run too hard, too fast. And other people are saying that, this is the move and we are finally seeing a breakaway movement. So in this video, I'll share my authentic thoughts on the metals, what I think and what, more importantly, I am doing with the metals right now because I am trading them. I've got an active trade that I want to talk about with you guys. And most importantly, we'll take a look at what the next big move and what some of the clues, maybe like the dollar, etc., are looking like they could be signaling coming next. So I'm going to start here with the gold price action perspective, and I really want to take a closer look at the higher time frames for a second. Let's just look at the chart on a monthly basis. And it would not be crazy to say that the people who are saying, gold is overbought and has to pull back, it's understandable why one might think that. The chart has just gone straight up for multiple years in a row, and I cannot tell you how many comments on my YouTube channel I have gotten from people who have lost a lot of money trying to short gold in what has been a true metals market boom since the lows of April of 2022, and even before that. Really, all of this kind of got started even before COVID. We've seen a massive rise in the price of gold, and so when you look at this, it's understandable that traders might say, this looks overbought. But remember what gold is. At the end of the day, before you say gold is overbought, remember that gold over time, as we've talked about many times on this channel, tends to rise. It should rise. Why? Well, first of all, they don't make any more gold, right? They mine it out of the earth. There's a lot of, cost incurred to create gold or find gold in the earth. But more importantly, let's take a look at the second half of the spot price of gold versus the US dollar. Do they make more dollars? Every single day, right? So if they're printing tons of currency and they're not able to nearly create as much gold or mine as much gold, what should that do to the existing supply of gold over time? Well, naturally, it should drift higher. That doesn't mean that it's going to go up every day, and it doesn't mean that it can't have a large-scale pullback. I mean, take a look at some of these dips you had in the price of gold. That's a 21%, 22% drop. Of course, back in 2011, when we had the amazing run-up in gold prices, we dropped by 45% from those highs. So understand that gold could have a larger pullback. From a structure perspective, though, the monthly chart is still looking bullish. In fact, if you were bearish the last few months because you had kind of these doji or, these pin bar, whatever you want to call them, the long wick candles here, that actually makes more sense to draw some conclusion that, this candle especially looked pretty ugly and could signal some larger scale reversals or pullbacks. But since then, the bulls have come in strong with a decisive close at the end of August and now into September with the start of a green candle. The monthly chart does still look bullish. Again, it's hard to say that this is a cheap price for gold in terms of price action basis. But again, when we drop it down to the weekly chart, this is a very strong chart. What we can see here is that price did in fact close at the upper end of this range. And actually, let me draw my levels a little bit cleaner, right? So the upper end of this range, we technically closed just above with that all-time closing high at the end of August. And now going into September, which is historically a volatile portion of the year for markets. We'll talk about that here in a second. Actually, let's just do that now. Let's talk about the context here. We can pull up our seasonality chart and go to month-to-month seasonality. So August was, historically speaking, a good month for gold. This is worth mentioning. So if we take a look here at our August month, right? August, historically speaking, is a positive month for gold. And we did, in fact, get the delivery on that. We had a really strong close in August. But let's take a look at September. Is it fair to say that we could be in for a little bit of a pullback after this run-up? Well, the 10-year average says it's about break even in terms of a month on a historical basis. Doesn't mean that, again, it can't go higher from here. It totally could. but it shows you here in the last 10 years, there's a slight expectation of a mixed price action, maybe slightly negative for the month of September. Would I go out and short gold from that reason? No. In fact, what we look at within the Edge Finder is a combination of a lot of factors. So when we're talking about gold, we want to look at market sentiment, we want to look at technical scores, and we want to look at economic data. That's what the Edge Finder's very bullish reading, which has gotten for a couple weeks now, has been signaling. We've been seeing most things agree that gold should continue to rise. And so for those of you who have Edge Finder who have also been riding the bullishness in gold and silver with me, then you know that this has been a relatively straightforward opportunity. Now, again, I've actually traded silver. I'll talk about that in a second. But this, to me, does not look like something I want to short. In fact, it looks like something I would look for pullbacks and to get long. Now, that's what I would do, and let me clarify here on my YouTube channel, I'm not here to give you financial advice. Trading is really hard. You can lose a lot of money, and even if you have a good system, if you manage risk improperly, you can blow everything up. So trading is really hard. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your account, but I'll tell you what I'm looking at. Gold has a really solid breakout here, and historically speaking, one of the famous last words of traders is that when gold is going straight up, they say it's overbought and has to pull back, just in time for it to blow the rest of their account. So don't be too aggressive with the idea of like, oh, gold's got to come down. It doesn't, and it can continue to rise in one direction for much longer than people think it can. So I want to now also just talk a little bit about how I would potentially enter this trade. And before I do that, let me just mention that if you're interested in seeing the trades that I am taking, we're currently doing a huge discount on the VIP group. So check this out. I just closed actually this morning, I closed a trade on the euro dollar for a profit, and all this stems from dollar bearishness. I'll tell you more about that in just a little bit. But again, I closed a euro dollar long trade, closed about 95 pips profit on that one. And of course, my silver trade, which we're about to get into, is one that I called out inside of the group. So again, every time I take a trade, this is what it looks like. So when I take a new trade, you can see my entry, my stop. I don't have a target because I like to trail stops, but I manage and update members along the way with every trade that I'm taking with screenshots, breakdowns, explanations so that you actually learn something and can watch along as I take these trades. If this is something that you're interested in, then I got something cool for you. Like I said, it's 40% off for a limited time. There's a link in the description down below if you want to check that out and get access to our VIP group. Come start trading with me and the rest of the team. We'd love to have you in the group. Okay, so with gold breaking out, one thing stands even better than gold, and it is my beloved silver. Silver looks so good here, guys. And in fact, I actually need to trail this stop loss, so I probably will do that just after I film this video. I'll move my stop loss further into profit on this one. So silver just looks phenomenal. This trade, again, I just want to clarify, not all my trades look like this, and I really wish they did. It would make my life really easy. But silver's rocketed up 6.7% in the last few days. I mean, this is a crazy move. And just for context, guys, yes, gold is making a new all-time high, but silver is absolutely skyrocketing. In fact, if we take a look at XAU USD / XAG USD, this, guys, is the gold to silver ratio on a weekly chart. What this is showing you is that gold is underperforming silver. This is not only good for silver bulls, it's also good for gold bulls. During really good metals markets, this is what you historically see. When metals are truly ripping harder than ever, you get silver typically outperforming. And that's what we're seeing. This is a good sign. This is what you want to see. If you think metals are going to keep going higher, you want to see silver lead. So I'm looking at silver and I'm saying, okay, that's where I want to be. I love trading gold, don't get me wrong, but if you've been watching the channel, if you've been watching along, or if you've been obviously in the Discord group, we have been calling for silver as the better play for a little while here. And so I got this pullback, I took the trade, and I am continuing to manage the position from here. Silver is also getting a +5 bullish rating. It did get a little bit of less score here over the weekend due to the commitment of traders data showing a little bit of lacklusterness there. I'm not sure if that's a word, definitely is not, but I still, overall, I like gold and silver. I think both have potential for continued upside here. And silver absolutely rocketed on the open. Yes, gold is up 0.8% today. Silver's up 2.5%. That is massive outperformance, and it is killing it in this breakout. To me, what this signals is that silver is leading a breakout higher that could be telling us something big about markets. Now, if we just take a quick look at like the S&P 500, it's about flat today. The Nasdaq here, of course, not too much surprise there since the U.S. markets are closed for Labor Day. Of course, happy Labor Day to those who are celebrating. If you're wondering why this video is a little less edited than usual, it's because my producers and editors are, both of them, I have two of them, they're both out, obviously, for the holiday. So as they should enjoy themselves. I just wanted to make sure I got this video out to you guys because this is actually some fascinating stuff in the metals market. And if you can't tell, I'm pretty excited about it. I, am very bullish on metals and have actually moved a lot of my portfolio. I sold a lot of my stocks and got back into the metals. So this ultimately, seems to be, at least for now, like the right play. My plan going forward, let's take a look at the monthly chart, repeat some of our analysis on the higher time frame. I mean, come on, silver looks incredible. Now, believe it or not, this is not an all-time high. And I actually, as crazy as it sounds, would not be surprised if in the next year or so, we made that run for the previous all-time high, around 2011's high of around $50 a coin or an ounce, I should say. I think there's upside for this. And again, I don't necessarily think that the risk reward is great buying right here because you could get some drops in between. But as I've been saying on the channel, I've been looking for dips and pullbacks. And so I was able to get in on that on the 4-hour chart, which we'll get to. Weekly chart looks phenomenal. Really strong green bodied candle here to start out the week. And again, ended out last week with a solid close above. Some closing highs that look really strong on a structural breakout perspective. Take a look at the daily chart, right? Daily chart, clean break and close above the prior high. And again, no bearishness to be found in these candles. Now, again, that might change and something could print that or something comes out news-wise that reverses this. But for now, what is the path of least resistance? Well, upside. And trailing stops is what I plan to do with the trade because I don't know how long it's going to run. And when we drop it to the 4-hour chart, I think things get a little bit more clear. So again, after this video recording, I will be trailing my stop loss up to this level here. And so again, I am looking for follow through here on silver. Any sort of higher low gives me another opportunity to lock in more profit on my trade here. And again, the U.S. stock market is open, which is where I have my SLV trade. Otherwise, I would show you the P&L, and will do so tomorrow if I'm still in the trade. Of course, if I make any adjustments, close out of the trade, take profits, trail stops, whatever I do with it, I will update members inside of our Discord, as I mentioned earlier. So stay tuned on that if you are in the group. So again, path of least resistance. At this point, my job with silver is to trail stops and manage risk. Now, I also want to reiterate that this is not a strict take profit level. This, is just a way I'm marking my risk to reward ratio, which has obviously become pretty good on this trade. So with this, again, I also mentioned that I think that the dollar still looks weak. So take a look at USD or DXY, I should say. It looks really teetering like it's potentially headed lower to break through this low around 97.80 with some conviction. I would love to see in the next day or two a close below this, which to me could signal that we have more downside on the dollar index, perhaps a sweep back down towards these lows. Now, I also want to make sure that we're looking at the fundamentals with this, because if we take a look at the economic heat map, pull up U.S. economic heat map, what we've got here is, of course, a little bit of a mixed sentiment gauge here, right? What I mean by that is the dollar is getting a slightly weak, but not necessarily overtly weak reading. Overall, long story short, we have some economic reads that look a little soft. You have some inflation that looks hot, though. And this stagflation potential, right, inflation high, jobs data and economic growth looking a little soft, that combination makes gold and silver look even more attractive to me. So I really like the setup for that. And I do also want to reiterate that stagflation concerns, at least for now, does not seem to be materializing in the Bitcoin trade. And I know to the crypto crowd, this was sort of the hope, is that if you get a breakdown in the dollar or, weakness in the dollar, that Bitcoin would, fare really well. And while it has actually done, admittedly, pretty well against stocks this year, I do think that it is still subject to risk-off, risk-on flows, right? So right now you have a little bit of risk-off coming in, at least with gold and silver jumping, you would kind of hope that Bitcoin would be joining that parade, and maybe they will, but for now, I'm a little cautious, and it does seem like we are breaking some key structure here looking left. So watch that 110 level. I would say that, to me, Bitcoin could head lower with the market, broader sense, right? Of course, NASDAQ, S&P is what I'm referencing there. So with metals, I do think metals have upside. I think you may get dollar index weaker down towards these lows. We'll see if I'm correct about that or not. And my plan here, I mentioned earlier that I took a profit earlier this morning on euro dollar. We tapped into resistance, took 95 pips profit off the table, sent that out to members as well. So we'll see what happens there. I also want to make sure we mention today's video sponsor. Check it out. It is Maven Funding. They offer instant funding for those of you guys who are interested in that model for as low as $19, which is crazy. They have some of the best industry prices, and they offer some really fast payouts to those who are interested in getting funded. Now, I want to mention, as always, that when you are looking to get funded, you make sure that you are already at a point in your trading where you have some consistency so that you don't waste your time or your money. And to help that also, they've actually offered, so maybe it has like some of the lowest prices in the industry by far. I mean, I think they do have the lowest prices in the industry, but they've offered, because I asked, an additional 5% off with the promo codes that can be found in the description down below. I think it's A1 Trading 5, but check it out down below in the description if you want 5% off any of the challenges that they offer over there at Maven. And again, I asked on behalf of you guys for that, for those who are looking to get funded. I typically try to, whenever I have some sort of sponsor, ask for discounts or deals for subscribers to take advantage of. So I believe we got you 5% off down below in the description. Check that out for details. Again, silver up 2.6%. And I've been seeing some people say in the comments like, hey, Nick, when is gold going to pull back? And I just want to kind of finish on this point. If watching this video is agonizing for you from one of two perspectives, meaning it's agonizing because you are short gold or you are short silver and the rally is killing you, first of all, I would really implore you to ask, why am I in a short trade at all-time highs? Because typically all-time highs print new all-time highs. It's really a difficult trade to try and time the top of a metals market move, or any real major all-time high for that matter. But especially in metals and indices. And currencies, a little bit different, right? Currencies typically mean revert over time. But when you're talking about gold and it on the precipice of, continuing this monumental rise, the probabilities that you're going to be able to call the top in a move like this are so difficult. And so I gave up on that a long time ago. When gold is ripping higher, look for opportunities to constructively ask yourself, is that going to be continuing, right? The continuation trade has been much easier. And again, I found that in silver. I found the trade was a lot cleaner on silver. That 4-hour chart pullback was just so clean, 38.2, hit that support level, called that out to members, and we are rocketing higher. So again, if that's the first part. Second part is if you're watching these kinds of moves and you are banging your head against the wall because you were bullish on gold or bullish on silver and it's running away from you. First of all, if this is you, then I've been in that situation many, many, many times. And newsflash, we're both going to be in it many, many more times. It's part of trading. Sometimes you miss the move. And so I'm not long gold. I would like to be. If it pulls back, I'd like to add gold into my mix of trades. So be patient, wait for setups. The market doesn't move forever in one direction, although it can go a lot further than you think. And if you miss it, you miss it. That's the other thing, right? That's the reality of trading, is sometimes you just miss a move. But the good news is the markets will still be there tomorrow. I hope this video was helpful too. I know it's a little shorter than usual and a lot less edited. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Trade safe. We'll see you in the next one.